The subject of this video is children's psychosocial development, which relates to an individual's psychosocial development and its interaction with the social environment. APA Dictionary states that psychosocial development involves the development of both prosocial behavior and antisocial behavior. Psychosocial development includes change not only in children's overt behavior, but also in their social cognition. This topic may seem like it has no correlation with a business area expert. However, one of the key points needing for running a school successfully is understanding how psychosocial development has an influence on children's learning skills and discipline formation. Likewise, this topic is related to engineering due to the fact that a lot of data has been produced and registered on how children's psychosocial development has been over the past decades. This data can be analyzed in order to find the tendencies on the psychosocial development of children and to predict how these characteristics will be in the near future. We are interested in this subject due to the fact that we are inside the children's perspective as students. We are the subject of this concept, and we once went through the stages of psychosocial development, but are now the subject developed. It is interesting to learn the techniques that schools have applied on us to ensure that we grow up in the best way possible.
According to George Bird 2008, when educating students, there has to be two distinctive aims: to create and maintain a safe, orderly, and positive learning environment, which often requires the use of discipline to correct misbehavior and to teach self-discipline. He mentions that many schools focus only on the aspect of correcting misbehavior, and only work in a system of clear rules, rewards, and consequences. In the US, for example, according to Sullivan 2016, a new federal legislation approved in 2001 led to schools to apply zero-tolerance policies on their rules. This had devastating effects on marginalized groups of schools, due that disadvantaged students had a higher risk of being suspended from school. In Chicago, for example, 75% of black middle school males with disabilities have been suspended from school due to these zero-tolerance policies. This problematic is also present locally in Monterey, where there are schools that still apply the zero-tolerance policies on their schools. In the same way, Udemy is one of the few schools which contain a program that focuses on developing these key elements for a good personal growth. The psychology of education is a very serious topic because how a person is educated can define their whole future. It is very important to discuss and reflect on the situation as well as analyzing the possible consequences for each possible scenario. If this topic is still ignored and not discussed, teachers around the globe will teach their students how to behave without knowing the long-term effect that they are doing on their children, and if this topic is read carefully and well understood, many things could be achieved. For example, the analysis of the subject will make consciousness in the teachers and also parents, causing them to educate the students in a better way and creating a better society in a long-term effect.
The ethical dilemma that derived from this topic is: how can schools decide which is the best way to correct a misbehaving student who is still on a young learning process? With the ethical dilemma now mentioned, the two stances of this ethical dilemma are the following. A. Should schools punish those children who badly misbehave at school in order to have a quick and effective correction but could have a negative psychological effect on the child? Or B. Treat misbehavior as something that can be solved by lessons without the need of applying serious punishment, with the probability that children will not learn from their actions and repeat the act.
The perspectives that appear in the ethical dilemma are the parents' perspective. They are the authority and the ones that call the attention of the kids when misbehaving. The children's perspective is affected by the way they are taught and are the ones that are called attention. The perspective of teachers and principals impact on the perspective of the kid in the academic area. The government's perspective because of the laws that limit and state human rights of kids. And the perspective of society, which judges and decides if the children have been educated in a right or wrong way.
According to TREE 2014, during 2013 and 2014, 2.8 million American children were told to leave school due to misbehavior. An investigation carried by the Council of State Government showed that most of the children that were suspended for misbehavior on school, when they become older, there is a high probability that they will get arrested by police, commit crimes, and drop out of school. However, if there were no consequences for misbehavior on children in school, there would be no control over children's behavior.
There are multiple examples in which punishments have severely affected the child, or even the punishment has exceeded physically or psychologically. According to the electronic newspaper Excelsior 2019, a kindergarten teacher brutally throws a girl against the floor, causing a terrible head injury. Another example, reported by Brooks Pollock 2015, describes a shocking picture of a 6-year-old schoolboy who was forced by his school to sit behind a cardboard screen as punishment for being 1 minute late.
Although teaching with lessons could be effective, there are also some negative effects. According to Lee 2019, without discipline, children will be deficient in the following important life skills: self-control, patience, respect for the parents or other authoritarian figures, knowing what is appropriate behavior. Also, they will be spoiled and selfish. Learning from consequences have some disadvantages. For example, the kid could get into vices like drugs, alcohol, or if it's the case of a teenager, he/she could have sexual relationships that ruin their lives.
According to Maya 2002, discipline is not synonymous with cruelty but with humanity, because it promotes the formation of character and generates an attitude of struggle and overcoming despite failures. In our opinion, we think that there must be a perfect balance of both punishments and communication, or lessons, in a kid's education in order that this kid grows entirely and completely healthy in the psychosocial aspect.